What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have Drew Faith. He's in L.A., but he's not from L.A. You're going to get to learn about Drew Faith and his music in the next few minutes, so stick around. So excited. This week's shows, I will be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, my usual Friday night gig with the video dance party karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. It's Friday night at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Full bar, kitchen's open, good food. They got 10 diamond-style pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, you check out the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, Friday night. I'll be there from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. So come, sing a song at the Rab. You're the stars of the show. All I'm doing is pressing buttons. Let me press a button for you. And then on Saturday, I will be at the... I can't tell you where I'm going to be. I'll be at a wedding. That's right. I have a wedding on Saturday. The reason I'm telling you, because I'm excited about weddings. But unless you're invited, you cannot come. So, yes, so stoked to be a part of the people's big day. Weddings. People say wedding season. It's always wedding season. People are always getting married. And I'm very excited to be part of that big day. So, Friday night at the Rab, Saturday, I'll be doing a wedding. Hope to see you there. Hopefully you're invited. All right, party people, that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Drew Faith. I got him on Zoom, so if you're listening to the audio version of this, check out the video version on my YouTube, youtube.com/user/KeysDAN. Zooming Drew Faith now. Well, hello for every breath and every season. Sometimes you cry? All the miracles?
Well, tears of joy, hopefully.
All right. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the nom de plume is Drew Faith. That's not your real name, but it is a name that you've chosen. And I'm guessing you're driven by faith from everything I've seen on the interwebs. And I know you're making the rounds on these interviews because you have new music out there. You've been doing this, well, as far as I can see on the YouTube, at least a year. But give the people an idea of who you are, Drew Faith. Right.
Well, the name comes from, my name is Andrew, so the Drew is that. And Faith was, my faith, basically. So it came to that. And so I wanted to produce and write music that was faith-driven. So that's how that came around. And I've been writing Christian, I guess, country Christian faith. There's a terminology of country faith now that's out there. So I guess in that sense, for I guess writing songs over 2-3 years, and just released the album God of Wonders, and working on a new album, and I've got a Christmas single coming out as well on the 19th of November. So, yeah.
Well, I was having a short discussion after church yesterday about faith. Faith, funny enough, I guess I just figured out that I was going to be talking to you, but faith without works is dead. That's what one of the scriptures that I've kind of kept in my head and in the palm of my hand. Of course, the golden rule, do unto others. Unless you're a sadomasochist, which is terrible. You don't want to do unto others if you're not a very nice person. But in general, most people, be nice to each other. That is the golden rule.
It's a simple rule, but it's so hard for people to, we have this innate thing inside us to what you can call it, the devil, whatever it is, but inside of us, through jealousies or through ignorance, the people do things that they shouldn't do, But if we follow these simple golden rules, really, that I believe Jesus taught us, the world would be a much, much better place.
Well, I've been told ever since I was a little kid, and I did graduate high school back in 1986, so that tells you about how old I am. But I've always heard peace in the Middle East, and every time there's a peace talk, it seems to fall apart. And that's not just in the Middle East, but all over the world. People fight for resources, for what they think they deserve or what they don't have. Oh, that guy's got greener grass. It's probably better over there, but then it turns out that it's usually not better on the other side. Of course, that's the grass is greener on the other side, and then once you get to the other side, it's not as good as you thought it might be. Everyone is having struggles of one kind or another, and no matter what your station in life. If you have gobs of money, there's going to be people wanting to get those gobs of money. If you have properties, people want to get those properties. If you have the resources, the oil, the cobalt, I guess is something that they're wanting for batteries and such. People want to get at them. But what we have to do is take care of each other. You take care of yourself, make sure that you're straight in line, and then you take care of the people around you, right?
Absolutely. And I sometimes see it, and I feel like if we treat people around us like we would treat our own children. I've got 2 kids. Like, I could be absolutely furious with them for something they've done, right? But then I know that innate love inside won't allow me to go further than that point. Then you just forget and you forgive, and you say, "Yes, I love you. You're my son, my daughter," and so if we treat people in that way, you can't really go wrong.
All right. Well, you sound okay. Somebody such as yourself may not say that you have an accent. You say I have an accent. Where are you from, man?
No, I definitely have an accent for being in America. I'm originally from London, and as you can tell, but I've been in Los Angeles for 18 years.
18 years. All right. Now we have to take it back. Since you're on a long form conversation, I used to have, when I was on terrestrial radio, I would have 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes to talk to somebody, a creator such as yourself. Right. But now I have a little bit of time. We can sit back. We can relax. We can find out the origins of Drew Faith, where you're from, where you're at, and where you're heading. That's where we're going to explore right here on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Okay, where you're from, London. Tell me about a little Drew Faith. And I'm going to keep calling you Drew Faith because that's the brand that we're going for, so people can find more about your music. Drew Faith Music is the easiest way to Google search you.
Absolutely.
But tell me about a young Drew in the streets of London. What were you getting up to?
Well, I was born to immigrants in my family, originally from Greeks from Cyprus, and so they fought hard to. I have 3 brothers, so they were bringing up 4 boys, and but we had a very good sense of community. We very ingrained in church, in Orthodox Christianity. So we would go to church, every week, and Easter's was a big deal, and so it was. Faith has been implanted from the beginning, really, and then I basically found myself as a youngster, like 7, 8 years old, wanting to entertain, loved music, was besotted with Elvis. Elvis was my dude. So I but apparently I remember this, but but my mum said I was doing Tom Jones impressions at like the age of 6 or something.
Well,
So
Tom Jones was doing Elvis impersonations as
yeah,
well. So go
exactly.
ahead,
So it's
continue.
kind of half of one, 6 of one, half of the other than the other. Really, yeah. They both. But so then, yeah. So I kind of got into the whole Elvis thing, and then would do skits for the family, and then around about the age of 10, or before that, I wanted to develop the performing side of things. And then the age of 10, there was this TV show in England about this really sort of prestigious drama school for kids. And I saw that and like was like, oh my God, I'd love to, go there. So, I started harassing my parents. Can I my mum's like, Guy, listen, you have to audition to go to a school like this, and they only take a handful of kids, and I don't want you to get your hopes up. So just think about it. And so my dad was he was like old school. Like, I'm not having my son go to drama school. I don't know what goes on in that, in places like that. So, but they had all these famous actors that came from this place in England. So, and so my mum persuaded my dad that, listen, if he auditions and he gets in, it means he might have something, So let's see what happens. So, of course, auditioned, got into the school, and basically learned all about, it was basically a half day. You would do half day drama, singing, and what have you, and then the other half you would do regular schooling. So, so I attended that school. I had to travel halfway across London to get there, which at a young age was quite, traumatic. But I loved the school. I learned a lot. And then, did several little TV shows as a youngster. Some singing stuff for the BBC, even some vocals, and then I left there and started going out auditioning. Started writing music as well. Not the genre I'm doing now, more sort of pop type things back then. And then I did a big tour, going back to the Elvis thing now, as the young Elvis, which was a big show at the time. We went all around the UK, and then I did a tour around Europe with that, and so and then continued that in England. Did a lot of theatre work, and then decided I wanted to explore America. So that's how I ended up here. And continue doing TV stuff here, and commercial work, and then decided that I wanted to commit myself to it was during COVID, really, that having a lot of time to reflect, and I was kind of I'd always listened to Christian music, contemporary stuff, and then I was just tuning into one of these Christian stations, and the song really just touched me emotionally, and I thought, wow, wouldn't that be great to create music like this that maybe you can affect someone in that same way, so I felt really inspired, and then decided then that's what, I wouldn't call it a mission, but that's what my intention is to do, to produce music that might touch and reach people, and also to show my thanks and gratitude for the life I've lived so far.
Well, Drew Faith, you've come a long way from your origins. I was born into a Roman Catholic family. I'm half Cuban, half Irish. Came from Miami, but I had a Roman Catholic family, but I've grown and I've explored different churches and synagogues and different faiths and tried to explore that. But Greek Orthodox, and from watching the Big Fat Greek Wedding movie, everything comes from the Greek. And, I fully believe that there is a lot of history that people have taken from the Greeks. And I know the Greeks took from the Romans and the Assyrians and stuff. The Romans took from the Greeks. But the Greeks really have a foundation that resonates throughout the entire planet. Even in England, the UK, where you're from, and the United States, the democracy, it traditionally comes from the Greek. But tell me about growing up Greek. You had four boys in the family. I'm guessing the parents were wanting to make maybe a football club of some kind,
right? Well, funny you should say that, because my mom said if I'd left it up to your father, we would have had a football club, because she was absolutely guaranteed that every child she had would be a boy, no matter what. And she was hoping the fourth one, which was me, would be a girl. And she had, I think she had a name already. And then, like, when I was like, when I popped out, because in those days you didn't know what you were getting. There was she was, but she felt blessed. She felt, after later on in life, she thought, I think bringing up boys probably would have been easier, especially with your father being the way, he was so kind of strict in a lot of senses.
Well, if she wanted a girl, it's possible that you became the most well-rounded. Did she teach you the traditional things that girls learn, how to cook, how to play with, action figures, I'd say, not dolls, action figures? Did she teach you the creative arts?
Yeah. Well,
how to dance?
Interestingly, because we were four boys, and there was, we had to muck in and they worked full time. I sit back sometimes and I went, how did these guys raise four boys and work full time and do the rounders after work? He had to do other things and drop off. He was in the rag trade, so they were dress manufacturers. So he would do like this 12-hour day. Then he would have to bundle up all these clothes and then take them to outdoor machinists. So people's, around, and some of them were way outside of our immediate area. And so, he would do that and come back and then sell some stuff, these dresses that he had some would go out to stores, and some he would sell, on the side. And it was amazing. And then we still managed to go to church. We still managed to take us out every weekend somewhere for a picnic or an outing somewhere. And I've just got two, and my, we're like, oh, how do we do this?
Well, that instills.
We don't do half as much. We don't do half as much as they had to do.
Well, that's what's been happening with the generations. Is people have been changing. Back in the 50s, a man could be the sole provider, and it was Leave It to Beaver or that kind of a show where the man could be the sole provider. Right. They'd have a house. They'd have a car. They only needed the one car since he was the one going out to work. And maybe the wife would say, let me borrow the car so I can go on an outing with my friends or what have you. But that hardly ever happened. The family unit got diversified. And now, because, well, it's not just here in the United States, but all over the world. Inflation and the rate of pay did not increase at the same intervals. So now you got to work twice as much to get half as much. And you should know that. You've been instilled that work ethic that your father gave you. Obviously, he was a hardworking man, but he still found time for the family. But you said you're the last child. The first child, right. The parents are usually flying by the seat of their pants. They got no idea or very little idea on how to raise a child. By the time the fourth child comes out, you're on your own. You could have gone feral.
Yeah.
And they would have said, "Where's Drew? Which one's Drew?
Right.
I don't know. Which one's isn't Drew here? Aren't you Drew? No, I'm his brother." But were you let out on your own, or were you in the flock?
I was in the flock, but separated in the sense that, what I was doing was very different as a youngster, going to, drama school at the age of 11. That wasn't really a thing. So, but I was still very much a part of I guess I was maybe closest to my mum in some ways. So I feel for her and muck in maybe a little bit more. I would help prepare the breakfast and dinner and things like that, and help her out around the house. But she would take us out, on the weekends and treat us, and so it was kind of, and I have wonderful memories, and as like you're talking about like Action Man or whatever, G.I. Joe or whatever. I collected these little toy soldiers, and every Saturday we'd go to this toy shop, and she said, "Okay, you can choose 3 soldiers or whatever it was." And then I would add to my collection, and so I had a wonderful upbringing. I've got to say, I feel very blessed.
What was funny is in a conversation just about 3 days ago, I was reminiscing about my childhood back in the 70s. I had the G.I. Joes, the 11-inch G.I. Joes with the real fuzzy hair, and they had the Kung Fu grip. That was the best part of it. But back in the 70s, we did have those, and I've lost all those toys since then. But you had 3 big brothers. That could have gone horribly wrong. Did they beat up on you, or did they take care of you? How did you get along with your brothers?
Well, see, I was the little loud dude that thought he'd go around, like if some like 6-foot dude was like in my face, or one of my brothers, I'd say no, So I was always ready for a fight, if you like. So they had to like, hey, you need to calm down. My dad told me a story like when my older brother must have been like 12 or something, and he was in this Sunday league football matches. Both my older brothers were very talented soccer players. So somebody tackled him, and he fell to the ground. And in the middle of this game, I ran on the pitch and tried to jump on this guy for hurting my brother. So I've always felt to be a protector of my family, and very strongly about that. But that would also get them into trouble, because I was this little guy at the time, and I was picking big fights.
That's all right. That means you take care of each other, and you had love for each other, and that's fantastic.
Exactly.
Are you still very close? I mean, exactly. I know that you're thousands of miles away, but are you still very tight knit as a family? Extremely close. We talk to each other all the time, visit each other all the time. We were just actually in the summer, we all got together. Well, I try to go back home every year anyway, during the summer holidays when the kids are off, so they get to meet their British family. So we all met up in Cyprus, actually, which is the Greek island. So my family originally from. So, and that was beautiful, because my kids get to see their culture, their ancestral culture, and so we meet up. We speak all the time. I think that was one of my mum's biggest hopes, that we would stay close. I'm getting emotional now, but. No, and Cyprus.
That's what we are. We're really close.
Cyprus sounds like a beautiful place to have a family vacation. I'm glad you had the ability to do that, to meet up with your family. Yeah. There was was a saying. My life is in the movies, but in the there was a movie with Gene Hackman about the OK Corral. I can't remember if it was Tombstone or what have you. And one thing he said as his character, there's nothing so important as family. And if everybody else leaves you high and dry, your family is probably going to be the people that are going to take care of you the most. So you keep them close. And it says a lot about you. It probably comes through in your songwriting, your singing, your creative outlets of all kinds. So I'm guessing that the other three brothers had nothing to do with the creative, with the school and that kind of thing. What did they get into?
Yeah, they were soccer players. They were strong into that, basically my second eldest, he was big into music. He's actually an editor now, so he's in some form of entertainment. But he, as well as my mum, who loved music and had a sort of really influenced me in she would listen to lots of different stuff. My brother the same. He had huge selection of and collection of vinyl records, which he still has. Some really sort of good stuff as well. And so I was influenced a lot by that, his music, and we would drive around, London, and I'd listen to all his latest album that he bought. Back then, that was the whole thing.
Well, hit me with some examples. What was he turning you on to?
Well, I mean, at the time, it was a lot of kind of soul music, Stevie Wonder, people like that. Motown stuff even, and lots of different eclectic mix of stuff, and things that come out in the UK, like singles and stuff like that. So we listened to everything, and I think the radio also was a big influence. Back then, I think people listened to the radio a lot more as well.
Well, I'm kind of an Anglophile, so I appreciate that you're from I appreciate that you lived in the UK. I also appreciate that you're Greek, so I like those two things about you already off the bat. But I mean, I'm interested in all things London. Does your family still live in London proper, or just in the outskirts?
In the outskirts now. We lived in London proper. We lived in a place called Muswell Hill, which is north. It's London, the north part of London, and so that was fantastic growing up. And right in Muswell Hill is a huge park called Alexandra Palace, and that was the first they built. I don't know the date, but from Alexandra Palace was the first program that was ever televised in the world, I think, that went out. But I'm not sure what day that was, but it was like the first BBC broadcast.
Amazing.
And so, yeah. And so, you would see that, and so beautiful park there, and it was wonderful growing up in Muswell Hill.
Well, I mean, besides the theater productions, were you riding your bicycles around with the kids, or playing video games, or what were your things to do?
Riding, the big thing was my third eldest brother. He liked fishing, so I wasn't really a fisher, but I would go with him fishing. But we were big on bikes, so we I remember my mum buying, I don't know how old I was, in 9 or 10, but I had this, wonderful shiny bike. It was called a chopper or something. It was like, it was the one that you had to have, you know what I mean?
Oh,
At the time. So, and I would love it. Thought I was this big grown up driving, riding around on this bike to, which seemed like really far distances, but it was probably only a mile away. but
Yeah,
I felt like,
when you get a bicycle
felt like
as a
freedom.
child, it becomes your first taste of freedom. You start to pull further away from
Right,
your family,
absolutely.
exploring your boundaries.
Yeah.
Before the internet, if you wanted to know
Exactly.
where your friends were, you looked for the yard that had all the bicycles in it. Oh, all my mates are hanging out there. There's all the bicycles or skateboards or whatever mode of transport you had. Some people had scooters. But, if you wanted to find out where everybody was hanging out, oh, they're over at Dan's house. Oh, they're over at Drew's house. I can see all the bikes. That was how you found your social media, your socialization. But I don't even know how old a man you are. You seem like you started life before the internet, and you've seen it transform as time progressed.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, what we've evolved to today is just so. Yeah, I mean, before mobile phones and all that came out, it was, and in some ways that fears, I have fears now because I have young kids growing up, and how far we're gonna go with that, and with AI and social media, I feel we have to go back a little, because I think I have nothing but fond memories of my childhood, and we didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, our parents weren't as protective as we are of our kids. I remember my mother would kick me out of the house in the morning on a Saturday morning and wouldn't expect me to come back until the street lights came on. That's typical.
Yeah, and she didn't have a fear that you were going to be.
Had
she
no
didn't have a
idea
fear that you were going to anything coming to any. Yeah.
Had little to no idea of where I was, and we were living close to the Florida Everglades, where there's alligators and other animals that could have eaten us. But she knew. Okay, she had faith that we'd come home that night. If we didn't come home by the time the street lights came on, okay, then she'd start to worry and maybe start to look around, and because there's no cell phones, you're calling house to house, calling my best friend, calling each of my friends one by one to find out where I'm at, or maybe the movie theater, to track people down. It's not just, you don't have the advantage of having that one phone. And you say you have 2 children. Do they have cell phones already? How old are they?
No, not yet. My son is 8. He's going to turn 9 tomorrow, actually.
Oh, happy birthday!
My daughter is thank you. And my daughter's going to. She's 4. She's going to be 5 next year.
Okay.
So they not. He's already sort of hinting at a phone, but I'm like no. I don't think I would. I think because he likes to play all these games, and he's always, Dad, can I have your phone? Can I have your phone? Okay. So but at least there on my phone I know what he's doing, and so but I will. I think phone probably around about the age of 12. I don't see it happening before that.
Yeah, I mean, but these kids have a lot to navigate. They have a lot to navigate with the screens and the phones and all this information coming at them. It's not like, all right. When I wanted information, I'd go to a library and read a book. Find the Encyclopedia Britannica. I had a whole set of them in my house.
Right.
And I remember those. That was the internet for me. Reading those books. And so sometimes, you're right. You have to slow it down a little bit. There's a longing for slowing down because of the pace, bigger, better, faster, more. You have to do these internet interviews if you want to sell a record. You have to be media savvy, social media savvy if you want people to know who you are. Keep putting out content. Get on your TikTok, make a video of you dancing around, singing "Sometimes I Cry" or a Christmas song, or doing a backflip, so that way they know Drew Faith. Oh yeah, I got to find out more about Drew Faith. You have to be dancing around like a monkey. You can't just be in the studio making a song.
Right. No, that's right. Absolutely right. And that's a whole full-time gig,
It is.
doing all that.
See, I don't know if you have a day job, because most artists, when they're starting out, or even throughout the years, they have to have some kind of a day job with a steady income, and then that affords them to do the night job. I call my day job my insurance job, and my night job, which is the DJing and the entertaining, is my money job, my love job, the one that makes my soul filled. But I don't know if you have a day job or you're doing this full time.
Yeah. Well, the acting work on the side, which obviously it is not a full-time gig either, but that allows me. Let's say I book a commercial or something that normally will keep me going for a while. And then until the next one. But so that's kind of how we get by. But and then as you say, allows me to really, which I still have a passion for that, but nowhere near the passion that I have for doing music.
Well, it's nice that you have different outlets for your creativity. And I know, I guess when TV was new, even I guess in the 70s, 80s, if you booked a national commercial, you could live on the residuals for a little while. You could, that Pepsi commercial bought me a house. Oh, that furniture ad, it got me a car. So yes, the entertainment business can be lucrative, but the work is not steady. It's always a hustle, going from job to job. You're going to auditions. Now you're in LA. I want to find out how did you, why and when did you go to LA? And you had exhausted everything in London, all the plays, all the musical endeavors. Everything was done in London, and you wanted to get more.
Well, I felt at the time that theatre is great, but it's also hard. You're living out of a suitcase, and it's 6 months at a time, and that's not really who I am. I can do that for a while, but I'm a home person. I really sort of like to nest in that sense. So I don't really. I kind of felt I did that and wanted, and then so theatre, and also it's hard to even make a living out of that in England. What you can make out here compared to England in the creative sense, even like a commercial. Like I would book over there, like you said, I might get, I don't know, at the most like $5,000, whereas here you could times that by 5. Do you know what I mean, or 10, or so. The difference is huge. So it was harder to make a living. And then I'd spoken to a couple of actors friends that had moved out here, and they told me oh, you can do this in LA, or if you get this or that. And of course, so I thought, okay, you know what, I'll give that a go. And of course, the weather is also an enticement. That sunshine, which is more like more Greek than it is English. So I thought, I never thought though necessarily I'd end up being here this long. But I came over here with that intention of just seeing how it goes.
Did you come over by yourself, or did you have people come with you?
No, I came over with my wife. Who was not then my wife, but we came over together, and I think that's also a reason how I was grounded and able to stay here, because I think LA can be a very lonely place. It's very spread out. People are very into their own thing, and she, having her here, really sort of grounded me. And also, we as soon as we got landed, we found a church, and that having that community help. And because I feel that there are a lot of lost souls here, so having that grounding. I remember, just reminding me, thinking about that we, before we found an apartment to rent, what have you, we were living we lived for like a couple of weeks in a hotel in Central Hollywood. And I remember we were in this hotel, and but bear in mind, London is where I lived in London was very quiet, and there were like felt like like people doing drugs, crazy stuff outside on the street. And I heard helicopters going above us. And then I guess in the middle of the night, I was sitting up now, listening to all this outside, and then gunshots at one point, and I was like, "What have I done?"
Yeah, it sounds like the center of Miami. There's, I used to work at some of the clubs on South Beach in Miami, and I've done some gigs out there in LA. In Southern California, right, from San Diego to LA to Bakersfield, in those areas. And yeah, you're right about the weather. Yeah. I did one gig where I had to set up my system outside by the pool. And, overnight, when it was finally time to go to bed, 2, 3 in the morning, I said, "Hey, should I bring my stuff in case it rains?" And they said, "No, it never rains here. 200 days out of the year. It is beautiful. You found the right spot. I'm glad you have love." And I guess you met her in London, and you brought her over?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Well, actually, yeah. Well, there's a funny story how we actually met, because I was doing a gig on a cruise ship. That was a 6-month gig, and I was just coming towards the end of it. And you could get like discounted fares for your family, so I went, you know what, my mum and dad have never been on a cruise, I'd love to treat them to that. So I brought my mum and dad on this cruise, and it was a 3-week cruise, and it went to Russia, it went to Turkey, it went to Greece. It was a really wonderful cruise, and I was playing Danny in Greece, Greece the musical.
Uh-huh.
So on the cruise, and so I was able to bring my family, well, not my mum and dad. So they came on the cruise, and we were having a wonderful time. And we would like walking around the ship, like go to a restaurant. Like my mum said, "See that young lady there? I think she's checking you out," sort of thing. I went, "Oh, really?" Well, so anyway, so she, obviously I'd caught her eye, and then she was on the cruise with her mum and her grandmother, and so anyway, we were going, coming. We never actually spoke to each other, and then the night before the cruise ended, we locked heads somewhere at a bar or something. I think and then we chatted and just felt this chemistry. And was like, wow, we need to because I'm getting off the cruise soon, and so we exchanged numbers. I think it was before the Facebook thing. It's just before that. So so we exchanged numbers, and then that's it. Yeah, the rest is history.
Well, did you meet each other's families? I know it was a little early in the relationship for that, but since you had them close by,
we spoke. I spoke to her grandmother and her mother, and so we and then shortly afterwards, because she lives in she was from the Midlands, from Shropshire, so she ended up coming down to London, and we met up, and yeah, and then.
Well, that was good
years
that you
later,
had the family, because family approval is very important, especially in a tight knit family such as your own. If your mom and dad did not like this young lady, you probably would not be together. In all
Yeah, for
seriousness,
sure. Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
no,
get family
absolutely.
approval.
My mum. Well, you know what? I often feel my mum and my wife had such a great relationship that I at times have always felt, she's the daughter, that she didn't have. And she would like, I'd be talking to someone and she'd go, "Oh yeah, but where's Rachel? I want to speak to Rachel." And I'd be like, "Okay, you know." So yeah, she was all about her, and they had a wonderful, loving relationship that my wife's really grateful for. Sadly, my mum and dad have passed, so that's
Oh,
maybe why I'm talking past tense sometimes.
yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
All right, Drew Faith. My goodness. All right, so we got a little taste of the love story. And
Yeah.
you took her across the pond, all the way to the colonies. I
Yeah,
guess they still call them the colonies.
that's right.
I've talked to quite a few Brits on this podcast, and
Yeah.
I wondered how we were
Yeah.
referred to. And some people say Yanks, and some people say the colonies still. So you made your way to
Yeah.
L.A. You said your acting career was budding, your music career. Let's go to the place you ought to be, L.A. But is L.A. still
Right.
Hollywood? Is it still Hollywood, or is it just a state of mind? Can you be Hollywood anywhere in the world? Toronto, Atlanta, so many productions, Prague, so many productions are going all over the world.
Absolutely.
Australia, even.
Absolutely.
I heard they give 60% off your taxes. So if you're doing a $5 million
Right.
production, and that's one thing. But if you're doing a $100 million production, 60% off on your taxes is probably a good thing. So can Hollywood survive?
Exactly.
I know you're in Hollywood. Can it survive? Can it make the movies?
Yeah, no, it's a good, very good question, and something that's really been talked a lot about. And I believe it's going to be very hard for Hollywood to come back. Basically, since COVID and the shutdown, and then one thing after another happened here. Then we had the strikes. Then we had last year, sadly, the fires as well. And during all these years, when all these things were going on, they started an infrastructure elsewhere. Like you said, Canada, lots of European countries, even England. I believe all the Marvel franchise now is being shot in the UK, and so all these other countries were supposed to be temporary at the time, and they're going to come back to Hollywood. But then they thought, "Oh, hold on a second, we're saving all this money. Crews cheaper. We don't have all the rules that they have in the US. Why go back?" So there's just little trickles of things here, and it's nowhere near. And I know lots of crew people that I even know that for years have made a wonderful living out here, have had to move elsewhere, or I know assistant directors that even because of the lack of work have had to consider a change of profession. And when you get to like the amount of years they've done here, and the age they are, it's like, how do you transition? How do you change career now and make a living? So it's very difficult. And are making changes or moving away. So yeah, in answer to your question, I feel there's talk about the tax incentives again, and then trying to bring work back, but I'm not sure. I hope it does, but right now it doesn't look like that's, you know,
Okay. Well,
on the cards.
another question: are you SAG-AFTRA? Were you involved in the strike?
Yes. Yes.
How did that go for you
Yes. So,
personally?
yes.
Were you on a picket line?
Yeah. I was part of the picket line. It's you know, it's very difficult, and then because we had the writer's strike as well just before.
Mm-hmm.
And so so part of all that, and it's like there's so much money that's made, you know, that the producers have, that they need to reflect on what, you know, an equal share for the actors. You know, that it's very hard to sustain a living, you know, unless you're in the top tier of 5% of you know, of actors. So they need to look out more, and you know, especially in the sense of pensions and healthcare. You know, these people have put a lot of money and a lot of effort into their careers, that they should be looked at, you know, and cared for when they're in their retirement. You know.
Well, and you know, now with the way technology is coming about, AI and the I guess it's artificial general intelligence is how they're calling it now. There's a proposed actress that's completely AI, Tilly something. I can't remember her last name, but she's being courted by several agents to have representation. But I see that as maybe an extension of animation, kind of an animation kind of thing, where you'd have to have somebody pulling the strings to make this art, but it may cut out the human actors.
Yeah, well, I know that SAG at some point, when this came into the loop, that there was some sort of contract for AI, and they had an agreement, I believe, with producers, that they would only be able to do a certain amount of a percentage of AI, and that they would have to give some of that revenue, you know, back to the actors. So, but I don't. The problem is that, like you said with the animation, but it's so real now. You know, I have a cousin who's very savvy with, you know, all the AI and stuff. He was able to like get a picture of me and my wife and create a commercial.
Yeah.
He just told him what he wanted, and within seconds, like a produced commercial, pretty much. You know, and then a lot of commercials are already being made. That so a lot of actors are losing work because of that. You know, so production companies are going to suffer because, you know, what I think might happen is the big brands are going to have their own little team. They won't go to production companies and say, "Hey, create me a commercial." They won't be going to like advertising agencies and saying, "Create me a commercial." They'll just have an in-house, you know, tech savvy people creating things, and they'll, you know, no actors, no one to pay, but the people that they've employed. So, and you know, the repercussions of all of this are huge, and then you know, it's going to be a never-ending sort of domino effect.
Well, you mentioned earlier that your brother had, you know, several records. I had thousands of record albums, but since the 2000s, since MP3s came about, since streaming came about, you're not selling any albums. The only way you're making a living is if somebody buys your tune or they come and see you at a live show. Are you doing live music as well? Are you out there at the clubs, maybe?
No, but that's the next step. I wanted to get the first album out first, and then you know, look at creating a small band that I can take on the road. Because you're absolutely right. But you know, and again, unless you're very top percentage of artists that are globally well known, it's hard to even make any revenue. You could even sell hundreds of thousands, still make pennies, you know.
Yeah.
So artists really now are relying on you know, tours and gigs that people are paying money a ticket to see, or merchandise that they can buy, because that's the only way they can really create any revenue.
See, that's the next step for you as a creator, as an artist. You have the in front of the camera. Now, you already said your brother is an editor. There's many things you can do in the entertainment building business, in the film business, and the music business. You can, but are you, all these songs that you're writing, are you actually writing these songs, or are they written for you?
Yes. No, I'm writing all the songs and co-producing all of the songs.
Oh, when did you figure out that you were a good songwriter?
Well, I like I mentioned earlier, I was writing pop songs earlier on, and then I had at the time people approaching me for songs, so I knew that I had a gift for, you know, sort of writing a hook, a melody that people could, you know, hopefully will remember and sing along to. So and I also forgot to mention that I also write scripts as well. So that is also, writing has always been a thing. And yeah.
So have you left that
I've
pop? Have you left the pop persona behind, or are you going to incorporate it? You know, maybe have no limits, because I know there's been a few artists that have gone both ways. You know, the Amy Grant is the one that comes to mind, and even Katy Perry started off in the Christian field. Are you leaving the pop persona behind?
You did. No, yeah, the pop persona behind. Yeah, this is honestly, I want to say this is really a passion. It's not even about being nice to make a living out of it, but I'm not. It's not about that for me. It's about creating. I feel like, you know, whatever gifts I've been given, I want to outlet it into hopefully touch people and feel the way I feel about, you know, Christianity. I want to try and touch people in that way, that they might be touched by a song and feel more of a passion, you know, for Christ and for going to church or whatever. But that it's something that's engulfed me so much that I just want to keep producing, creating, and not really think about that aspect. You know, if it you know becomes bigger than that, then that's fine. But like, you know, there's a single that I want to bring out in January, for example, that I want the proceeds to like go to a charity. So I want it more to be about doing some good. And I think you kind of mentioned that at the beginning, actually, you know, about the impact of that. So and so, you know, like my wife's always loved St. Jude's charity for children who, you know, it breaks my heart. You see children that have got these horrible health issues they have to deal with, you know, and some that, you know, and you can imagine what their families must be going through, and these young children. So I want to try and have a song that comes out there that all the proceeds will go to, and maybe moving forward, things like that. So yeah, this is really more about doing good than anything coming back, like financially, really.
It sounds like a calling, Drew Faith, but funnily enough, yesterday I put out a video on Elvis Presley. It was Elvis Presley bought Franklin Delano Roosevelt's yacht, and he donated it to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So
really?
A few of the things that you're kind of talking about Oh, okay. You want to take care of children. I think St. Jude's is a wonderful place. You may look into it more.
Yeah.
Giving to a charity is kind of a hit and miss. It's so, you never know what they're going to be using. Of course, some of it's going to be used for administrative. Some of it's going to be used for, various ways and means.
Right.
But hopefully most of it is going towards the people that you want it to be it giving to a children's hospital. Hopefully they're taking care of the children, and the expenses are low. But I like that.
Yeah, you're right. You have to do your research. I've even been looking into like the ways that people transfer money, like a donation, like a charity that transfers the money. And there's like I think one that you literally every penny they are funded themselves because they want to do good works, I say. And so every penny goes to, they don't take any kind of fee or anything. So everything goes to, let's say St. Jude. Now, St. Jude, I don't know how they split the money or what percentage goes to. But from what I've seen, and I've seen TV show on how that was set up, St. Jude's, and I think they're one of the more legitimate, charities.
Yeah, they've been around a while, so I believe that to be true as well.
Yeah, but you're right. You have to do your due diligence and research.
Well, I see some of the big companies, like sometimes I'll go to a store and buy something, and they'll say, "Do you want to round up to the next dollar to give to this?" No, because all I'm doing is paying your taxes. They're getting a tax write-off on my charity to you.
Exactly.
So having a corporation of my own, and I'm guessing, being an independent artist, if you're not incorporated already, get incorporated. Yeah. This way you can have those tax write-offs as well. Are you incorporated?
No, I'm not.
See, I wish I'd have done it a long time before I did it. I started DJing back in '86, and I didn't get incorporated until 2004. And the tax incentives and write-offs, you're in the business. People have to learn the business, or you get eaten up, eaten alive. Has anyone tried to take advantage of you on some of these shoots, and they say, "Well, we said we were going to pay you 100. We're only going to pay you 50."
Yeah, no, I mean, especially with the union, they can't really mess with you. It's all above board, and there's certain rates, so you're normally taken care of in that aspect. And like you said, musically, like money that's used for production or whatever, I'm able to write that off as for tax purposes. So, but that's as an artist and around the whole thing, So my acting work and my music work, all grounded in one.
Yeah, you have to know a little bit about the business, or you're going to get eaten alive. Even if you have an agent, a manager of sorts, even an accountant. I do have an accountant that takes care of all the big numbers. And my wife, bless her soul, she pays all the bills in the house. Without her, I'd be lost. And you said that you played Danny in Greece. I'm Danny, okay? And then your wife's name is Rachel. Mine's Rochelle, which is Rachel with a little S stuck in between the A and the C. That's how she spells it. So
my wife's name is Rachel, spelled AEL, not the EL.
How about that? I think when she was, I don't remember the story exactly, but when she was born, they were fighting maybe Michelle or Rachel. And they kind of, jammed it together. Something. I'll have to get confirmation. I might be telling the tales out of school, but I like that. I like that you have love. I like that you have a family, and I like that you're finding some kind of a balance to where the work and the family life. You get to take trips to Greece. Come on, little islands Oh,
Absolutely.
how
No, we're
beautiful.
blessed.
How
We're
beautiful is
blessed.
that? But
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why, I in my songs, a lot of my songs, it's about gratitude, and that's why I have, because I am able to do these things, and I have been um, given a blessed life. I thank God every day for the family I was born into. Can you imagine being born into, a war, being a war child, or whatever it is, or being somewhere where, your parents have got nothing to eat,
yeah,
we forget, we worry, we worry about silly things, until we reflect and see, hey, dude, you could. And I remind my children every day, and they do. They go, oh, thanks, Dad. They and this is what my parents, taught me. I'm trying to teach my children to have gratitude, to be thankful. There's always someone worse off than you, always. You know.
always. And I remember a
So
few years ago, people would say, "Oh, you only have tap water. I wanted sparkling water." These are first world problems. These are
exactly,
problems that you can live with. Yes,
yes,
there are
exactly.
people in war torn countries and people
Yeah,
that are living in starvation and famine
yeah,
and there's plenty of resources all over the world that we could take care of each other.
exactly.
But and will we? And and some people say one world. Will that ever
Yeah,
happen? A
yeah,
utopia? Can that ever happen? It's
yeah,
we talked about the fighting already, so we've covered a lot of
yeah.
subjects,
Yes,
and
we
I know
have.
it's going to be reflected in your songs,
Right.
be it now till the end, till the end. You're going to be
Right.
writing these songs, and
Right.
even the acting choices. Are you open to? Well, you said you already do union
Well,
work. Are you
yeah.
open to non-union work or
Well,
films or only
well.
commercials?
I mean, yeah. No, I films and commercials. But funny enough, the last TV show I did was The Chosen. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
I've heard.
I had a small role in that, and that, funny enough, was at the time where I started, concentrating a lot on writing the music, and then it was like, oh, now you're part of a Jesus show, and I was like, oh, wonderful. It just kind of all felt, right. So, and I'm very honored to be, just, even though it was a small role, but to be a part of that show, because it's out there, um, you know, um, teaching Jesus, who Jesus was and about Jesus's life.
Well, you
And
mentioned,
that show's grown tremendously. I
yeah.
mean, that was a started off as a GoFundMe situation, and I think it broke all records. It was the most funded um, ever. Like it generated, a lot of money, and now all the TV networks and people are involved, and so it's gone from a small thing to a huge thing.
Yeah, it's a way. It's the kind of thing that you want to help
Yeah,
you not just get that
yeah,
production off the ground, but
yeah.
also it could propel you to the next level.
Right. And
Because
in fact,
once you get,
I'd like, because they do use a lot of independent sort of Christian music. So hopefully one day, maybe, get them to use. Hopefully they might come across some of my music and want to involve it there as well.
well,
So
as we,
I'd love my stuff to be, because some of it is quite dramatic, and in fact, the Christmas song, Holy Child, that is quite theatrical. I could see that being used in a movie, about Jesus's, birth or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I'll just keep on producing and writing songs, and hopefully, uh, it gets to be heard by more and more people. Because, like you said, it's a difficult platform to. You have to be on it all the time, and you can like, what you're saying. You can have the best music out there in the world, but if you don't generate a fan base to do that, then it's difficult.
Well, as we wind this thing down, I was listening to your music on YouTube, and my wife was also in the room. And, we're listening to the progression. Some of the videos are from a year ago up till the Sometimes I Cry is the latest one that's on there. And it slowly progressed and progressed, sounding more and more Elvis-like. And you mentioned Elvis Presley earlier. I've been to Graceland a few times. In fact, I have a key to the Heartbreak Hotel that I stole.
Oh, wow.
I told the lady at the front desk, hey, wait, this key says Lonely Street, and it said Heartbreak Hotel on one side. I said, I'm going to steal this key, right? And she says, yeah, everybody does. Just leave your deposit. So I said, can I give you another deposit so I could buy one for my grandma? And she says, yes, you can. And there were real keys. There weren't the card keys. This is back in 99 when I stayed at Heartbreak Hotel. But you do have a look, especially the promo pic that you have for that. You have a look of an Elvis or a rockabilly or a Tom Jones, any one of that genre. And you have that style of singing. Because you said you listened to the blues and R&B and some Motown when your brothers were playing records and even on the radio. But what brought you to the Elvis?
Elvis has been in my psyche since I don't know. Like I said, and I played him, and I know, it could sound silly, but there were times on stage where I felt his presence, felt that, and that might be in years of being a fan, but it was so interesting because, we on tour, you'd have some people come to the stage door and they would say, just for a second or for that song, it was like he was there, and I just felt, so this, 100% he's going to be an influence in in my music, because that he was the beginning of me wanting to and funny thing is, like, I'll go stints of not listening to Elvis, and then all of a sudden I'll put on an album that I haven't listened to. And I just recently was listening to That's the Way It Is album, and I was like, I forgot how great this guy was, sometimes. And I was listening to the song Just Pretend, and I've just and a lot of the songs that he did there now were quite country, which is kind of, that kind of what I've been influenced by as well a lot. But also as a kid, I didn't realize, but he did like 3 gospel albums.
Yes,
he did like over 70, I think 70 odd gospel songs. So again, with that realization that, oh wow, yeah, he did want to spread that as well. He was deep written in faith.
He was searching. He was searching. He had his demons as well.
Searching. It was important to him because he didn't have to.
Right.
He didn't have to record music like that, because even back then it was like, do we want, that's not really commercial. You know what I mean? I can't imagine the Colonel saying, yeah, let's put out a gospel album. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the Colonel had his hand in everything.
He must have had a drive to do it. And I know that in his downtime, he would, play a lot of, just sing, because he wanted to be moved, I guess, and would sing the gospel songs that he'd learned growing up,
Well, so I believe on August 16th when he died, he was reading the Search for the Face of Jesus Christ.
Oh, really?
He was studying. Oh, wow. He was always searching, but he did battle his demons. But hopefully you get the searching without the demons. You have a good base, a good group that's supporting you. Between Jill and TJ over at Nashville Entertainment Weekly, they've been sending me some fine artists, and it seems like they take care and try to promote their artists very well. And I'm very glad that they put us together. Any other shout outs you want to give to people as we wind this thing down?
No, just Jill and TJ for all their hard work, and they're wonderful people, and I love working with them. And I want to say, honestly, it's been a pleasure talking to you, because you do a lot of interviews and you don't necessarily feel a connection, or they're not even interested in your faith so much. So I want to say thank you for that as well, for opening those doors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm engaged. I like hearing the stories of people, and you have a great story. You came, your family from Greece, you from the UK, and meeting your lovely bride on a boat. Come on, that's great. And here you are in LA trying to make it and making it. You're making a living doing this job that people want to make a living in, and very, very many try and very few succeed, and you're doing it. The people that make the best livings, I think, are not the great movie stars. Yes, they can make. Tom Cruise makes $20 million a movie, but then the people that are character actors that are willing to get in the dirt and really make a movie about whatever that interests you, and you may get out from in front of the camera, and you may end up behind the camera at some point as you progress in this show business. There's many jobs you could do, and I'm man, you're very talented, and the rockabilly thing is cool with the gospel, spreading the good news, the good word. It's going to help some people, put a lift in their shoes. And, are you going to, you don't have any shows, any musical shows, or is there any place that people can see you, or how do they connect with you?
No. Well, everything's on the website through faithmusic.com. So anyone can contact me, reach out to me via that. And, and through Jill and TJ to Nashville Weekly.
What kind of challenges are you open to?
I definitely want to come out. I'd like to visit them in Nashville, and because that is a big sort of gospel Christian country. If you're gonna do music, you need to be out there as well. So I'd like to come out there and at some point and at least do a few gigs or something. And it'll be nice to, because I've spent a lot of time in the past, going out on the road doing live shows. So doing my music live with an audience is a wonderful thing.
Well, and the audience has a bonus, because you're not going to be just singing, sitting there. You're going to put on a show. I can see it. I can feel it, that you're going to give them a little extra. It's not just a guy singing. And I could see it and smell it, and people are going to want to get up out of their houses and go see Drew Faith at a show. All right, Drew Faith, let's take this thing down. I don't want this to be the last time we talk. Okay. If you have other things to promote, you come back anytime. But I always finish these things off with last words for the people. This could be words to live by. This could be a mantra you wake up with every morning, something you heard a long time ago, or whatever pops into your head. Drew Faith, give the last words for the people.
Love one another, have patience and understanding, and wake up every morning with gratitude.
Well, there you have it, party people. Drew Faith, what a cool dude. DrewFaithMusic.com is the place you ought to be. And down in the bottom, he's got his Instagram and his Facebook, so you can connect with him there as well. But Drew Faith, it tells you a lot about him. It tells you about his blend of country and Christian music. And take a listen and buy his albums. Buy the singles. And maybe if you get a chance, go check out a Drew Faith show when he comes near you. I guess he'll be heading for Nashville pretty soon, and maybe he'll tour across the country. But check out, I guess he's in The Chosen. I need to check that out. I haven't seen that show, so I'm going to have to find The Chosen on one of my streaming networks. Or maybe I'll have to go buy a DVD A DVD? Grandpa, what's a DVD? Well, let me tell you, before streaming, there was DVDs. Oh, my goodness. A man of faith and a man of good family and good upbringing. Make sure that your family stays close. Keep your family close. They're the ones that are probably going to stick with you till the day you die. And that's fantastic. And keep lifting people up with those Christian songs, man, making people feel good, giving them those good values. And, if you got the faith, you're supposed to be spreading that gospel around. And that's what you're doing through your music, Drew Faith. Thank you so much for being on the What Makes You Famous podcast. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, my loyal listener, if you want to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email KeysDAN@AOL.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.